Hey guys, so we're back on Saryn, and I've been messing around with the Hound companions, as well as the Proboscis Cernos, just because I wanted a new companion, and I wanted to see if I could make the Proboscis Cernos work, because I like the way it groups enemies. But I found out if you combine these three things together, you can basically nuke entire rooms, and I wanted to show that off. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. The hounds. There's a lot that goes into this, and let me explain why it's crazy. So, Saryn, first of all of her like toxic lash, her venom dose augment, as well as nourish, all work on companion abilities. And then if you combine that with um, this mod here, Synergize Proboscis, fires a spark that it basically just AoE primes everything with all of the status effects that are on the companion's weapon. But Saryn, specifically Saryn with Nourish and Venom Dose, can add up at 3 extra status effects to them. And then you combine it with Contagious Bond, which spreads those status effects to all the enemies that it around the enemies it just killed. It nukes everything. And then another thing to talk about with these guys. First of all, you can put an absolutely insane amount of status effects on them. But Condition Overload works with their damage. So, and I've been using the Proboscis Cernos to also spread status effects. I just like that it groups enemies. It makes the little AoE nuke that my companion does a little bit stronger. And then, yeah, Condition Overload, a bunch of status effects, and then as much raw damage as you can get on there. And then, yeah, so the only thing that really matters is Proboscis or Synergize Prospectus. I've been reading this mod wrong for a long time. I just realized. And Contagious Bond, Duplex Bond also helps. Synth Deconstruct for the health orbs, of course, and then Manifold Bond to lower those cooldowns just a little bit. And then the rest is just kind of quality of life and like survivability stuff that I threw on here. Null Audit is also interesting. It increases your damage quite a bit depending on what Eximus they decide to copy. So that helps start that chain reaction of getting the companion its first kill a little bit as well. The build on Saryn itself. So there's a couple things that I like to use. This one that gives your primary weapon extra electricity because that makes your primary kind of have even more status effects. The green Archon shards, you don't need the Talforge version of these. I just have them just cuz. But if you get up to 14 stacks of corrosive, it completely strips armor, so I like to have those on. But it's weird. The Talforged only gives you 3 extra, and that only gives you 13 maximum stacks, so you need 2 regular ones at least. And there's not really a reason to Talforge these, but I did anyways. This one is just because I like to use melee weapons on my Saryn, and I didn't feel like removing it. And then extra status chance for the primary weapon also helps. And then the Saryn build itself is almost identical to my last Saryn build. Only thing I swapped out is overextended for Archon Stretch, because your companions can actually proc this with that ability that primes everything. And then the build on the Proboscis Cernos. I wanted to put Galvanized Aptitude on this weapon so bad. I really did. But Galvanized Aptitude doesn't work on the explosions. So only the actual arrows hit. So it didn't do anything basically. So I just put as much multi-shot on here as possible. And then I put gas damage because it's kind of the only gas magnetic. Magnetic we overlap a little bit with the Hound, but gas was another status effect that we didn't really have in the rest of the build. So right now we have gas, magnetic, And then with the abilities Viral, Toxin, Corrosive. And then on the Hound itself, we have Corrosive again. You can either put Viral or Corrosive. It doesn't really matter. Those are kind of the two most important ones. Radiation, Cold, and Magnetic. We're kind of overlapping on Magnetic again, but it's not that big a deal because we pretty much have all of them now. And I showed it off with the Eximus enemies that couldn't actually be grouped. But if we do it on these guys, you get the grouping as well. Okay, so that one was pretty much just the bow. The bow is fairly strong on its own with Saryn's abilities. For whatever reason, my companion didn't even attack these guys. There we go. Yeah, so that's what happens if you only fire one arrow. So we're on like damage overkill here. Like, the bow itself does enough damage to kill high level enemies. And then if they do happen to survive for some reason, your companion will absolutely just nuke everything. And I really like this build because for a long time I felt like my companions, I didn't need them because I was like, oh, I don't really need priming because my Saryn primes everything anyways. And I was kind of just using the companions as like extra loot. But I don't know. I've also been wanting to do like a pet build. So yeah, that's really fun. So we're going to take this into a real mission and show it off a little bit. Alright, here we are in a Steel Path mission. I actually went to Alara on Jupiter instead of the Void mission that I always go to, or the Lua mission that I always go to, just because there's so many enemies on this mission, and this build works better the more enemies there are. The more enemies you can group and get your companion to slap around, it just nukes everything. Like, I can't even... like, see what I'm talking about? I didn't even fire my bow there. That was all my companion. All of that. All those purple numbers, those are all just from the companion. It's almost to the point where, like, there's not enough enemies to kill because they get nuked so hard. And I don't know. This build is just really fun. I've been having a blast running around just grouping enemies. And you don't need the Proboscis Cernos. You really don't. This works with any status weapon, really. You almost don't even need to use your weapon. You just let your companion do the thing. And, of course, the Hounds are insane at priming for melee weapons as well. And I've been messing around with the dual Ichor on Saryn. And this weapon is, it's a little silly on Saryn because the gas clouds carry the status effects from Toxic Lash. And you start spawning gas clouds, and then basically everything just walks into those and dies. The one thing I would probably tweak about this build is I'm probably going to put Overextended back on my Saryn, just because I like using her spores, and I don't really need the energy regen. But you lose a decent amount of damage off your power strength, because Overextended lowers your power strength a little bit. You lose a little bit of damage on like Nourish, Toxic Lash, and Venom Dose, but I don't know. I hate when my spores fall off in a mission. And because I'm nuking everything so hard, I need the extra range to keep them going. But you could maybe almost get away with removing Equilibrium and leaving Archon Stretch on. And only using Archon Stretch. Archon Stretch's regen for energy, because Nourish also boosts any kind of energy regen like that. So you get like 5 or 6 energy per second when it's active with Nourish. But I prefer Equilibrium, especially if we're gonna be using a companion like this anyways that has synth deconstruct on it. But yeah, this build is really fun. And I hope you guys like. I think where I want to take my channel in the future is just coming up with really weird combinations and then making them really strong. Because there's so many videos out there of people making like, oh yeah, this is the new weapon, this is the build, this is how it nukes everything. But I really am enjoying finding these weird niche weapons that do a lot of damage that people don't really talk about. Like the Cinta, for instance. Like that weapon is really strong. But I don't think I've ever seen one other creator talk about it. And it's become like basically my favorite primary weapon. Especially with this build, because with the Hound priming everything, it makes the Cinta do even more crazy damage. And then like the dual I-Core I've been really enjoying, but I haven't really talked about it because there's... Okay. I didn't mean to cash nourish 4 times in a row. But, I haven't really made a video on the dual I-Core because there's already a bunch of videos talking about how good it is with Saryn. So I didn't really feel like I needed to make another video about it. But, haven't seen too many people talk about the Hound and Saryn together. And I mean, a lot of this is the Hound on its own, but Saryn really pushes it into overdrive. And I feel like that's the case with Saryn on a lot of builds. Because, like, I don't know. I seem to always come back to her for Toxic Lash and Venom Dose. And the Spores. It's just so strong. I am enjoying Protea as well recently. But, I don't know. I just love my Saryn so freaking much. And I might start playing the new Spider Frame because she also has like a Toxic Lash-esque ability when she's like in her spider legs. But yeah, I'm really kind of just waiting for the Acolyte to spawn because I wanted to show off what my Hound can do to that thing. He should be coming in any second now. There he is. Okay, where are you at? Unfortunately, the grouping ability doesn't work on this thing. Oh, he also turned off my abilities, which is kind of lame. Okay, we'll just take him out with the dual I-Core. It struggles a little bit against single targets, but that's okay. Alright, guys, so that is going to be it for this one. I did run out of storage space in the middle of recording that, but that was pretty much the end of the video anyways. I'm definitely enjoying messing around with the Hound. He's probably going to be my new like go-to pet. And yes, I'm messing around with the Isle Weaver mission as we speak, and I decided to climb all the way to the top of Araxia's tower. There's by the way, there's a thing you can interact with here if you guys didn't know that. I'm actually re-recording this outro just because I actually did the whole video before the Isle Weaver update, but I figured this would be a cool spot to do the outro. And I did get the Stalker in my, like, random Warframes. I do want to show you guys one more thing, because there is another thing down here. If you guys didn't know about it. Because I found it while climbing up here. Oh, crap. Where was it? We are very high up, by the way. It was over here, I believe. Yeah, it was on this thing right here. This is another collectible you guys can grab if you wanted to grab that. I don't know where the rest of them are, but this is the one I found. So there's that. If you want to grab it. But that's going to be it for this video. The channel is growing really fast, so I really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys next time.